My name is Jen, and today we're going to talk about my anticipated reads for 2025. So I know last year I did not do this because I kind of was like, you know what, I get excited about these the last couple of years and then I don't even bother to get the books or read them within that year, so why am I bothering to get excited about it? And then I was thinking about it lately and I was like, yo, that doesn't matter. In the grand scheme of everything, it really doesn't change the fact that I'm excited about upcoming books, and it really doesn't matter if I get them when they come out, if I get them a couple of months after they come out, if I pre-order them, if I get them years after they came out. It doesn't change the fact that I'm still excited about them. And it also shouldn't change the fact that I should tell other people about these books that are coming out that you might be interested in or you didn't know anything about. So, yeah. Anyway, here's anticipated reads for the year. I have quite a few written down, but it's not like a ton. I have them through chronologically through a few months, but the latest one I have on here is something that comes out in September. This is probably, I imagine, subject to change. I'm sure there's going to be things that come out later on this year that are going to be just as exciting, but for now, these are the things that are upcoming that sound pretty exciting. So first up on the books that are coming out in 2025, we have a couple in January, the first of which comes out on January 14th. It looks like this might be a fantasy novel. It's called Watermoon by Samantha Soto-Yambao, and all of the descriptions I'm getting from Goodreads, so bear with me. On a back street in Tokyo lies a pawn shop, but not everyone can find it. Most will see a cozy ramen restaurant, and only the chosen ones, those who are lost, will find a place to pawn their life choices and deepest regrets. Ahana Ishikawa wakes up on her first morning as the pawn shop's new owner to find it ransacked, the shop's most precious acquisition stolen, and her father missing. And then into the shop stumbles a charming stranger, quite unlike his other customers, for he offers help instead of seeking it. Together they must journey through a mystical world to find Hana's father and the stolen choice by way of rain puddles, rise on paper cranes, the bridge between midnight and morning, and a night market in the clouds. As they get closer to the truth, Hana must reveal a secret of her own, at risk making a choice that she will never be able to take back. So that just sounds wicked cool as a fantasy novel. It's set in Tokyo. It sounds, I don't know, kind of cozy, but not fully cozy, because there's also obviously things that are at risk, obviously, but it just sounds like a good time. And then next up on January 21st, it sounds like we have a mystery novel with potential supernatural elements to it. This book is Mask of the Deer Woman, and it is by Lori L. Dove. Rock bottom following her daughter's murder, ex-Chicago detective Carrie Starr has nowhere to go but back to her roots. Starr's father never talked much about the reservation that raised him, but they need a new tribal marshal as much as Starr needs a place to call home. In the last decade, too many young women have disappeared from the res, some dead, others just gone. Now local college student Chenoa Cloud is missing, and Starr falls into an investigation that leaves her drowning in memories of her daughter, the girl she failed to save. Starr feels lost in this place she thought would welcome her, and when she catches a glimpse of a figure from her father's stories, with the body of a woman and the antlers of a deer, Starr can't shake the feeling that this fearsome spirit is watching her, following her. What she doesn't know is whether Deer Woman is here to guide her or to seek vengeance for the lost daughters that Starr can never bring home. So that sounds like super cool. A fun fact you might not know about me: I really like mysteries that take place in the Midwest or Southwest, especially if they have Native American characters or settings involved, although honestly I haven't really read that many novels with that. I've read a couple of Hillerman novels, like Lee Porn and Chi novels before, but for the most part, most of it has been stuff that I've watched, like the Lee Porn and Chi Masterpiece Theater episodes, or Longmire, or there is a new show that has come out fairly recently on Netflix, which is like a reboot and a different focus of the Lee Portman Shima novels, but focusing more on the res cops themselves, that I haven't watched any episodes of, but it looks like wicked cool. I can't wait to watch it. So yeah, like that very much appeals to me. So this sounded really fascinating, and I do have another mystery novel that is kind of has a similar setting. I might end up reading them around the same time because I think that would be fun. There's a couple in March coming up that I'm interested in, the first of which comes out on March 4th, and it is called Band Together, and it is by various YA authors. And this is a YA anthology that spotlights the transformative power of books, while equipping teens to fight for the freedom to read, featuring the voices of 15 diverse award-winning authors and illustrators. Books are disappearing from shelves across the country. What does this mean for authors, illustrators, and most crucially for young readers? The collection of fiction, memoir, poetry, graphic narratives, essays, and other genres explores books bans through various lenses and empowers teens to fight back. From moving personal accounts to clever comebacks aimed at censorship, 15 legendary YA authors and illustrators confront their high-stakes question of what is lost when books are kept from teens. So the contributors include Ilana K. Arnold, Nikki Grimes, Ellen Hopkins, Kelly Jensen, Brandon Keeley, Maya Kobabe, Bill Conisberg, Kyle Lukoff, Naomi Chung-Li Nguyen, Ashley Hope Perez, Isabel Quintero, Tracy Sorrell, Robin Stevenson, and Padma Venkatraman. It has illustrations from Debbie Fong, and yeah, it also has a How to Start Your Own Little Free Library flyer, which is honestly also interesting to me because I have hopes to set up a little free library come like the spring when I can like put a hole in the ground for a post. But yeah, so I thought that sounded really good, and I wanted to, even though I mean I'm not a teen obviously, but I still thought that sounded really good. And then also in March, coming out on the 11th, I'm sorry, the geese are so freaking loud, they're on the pond outside. On March 11th comes out a romance novel, and it is called Fan Service, and it's by Rosie Denon. And yeah, the only place small-town outcast Alex Lawson fits in is the online fan forum she built for Arcane, a long-running werewolf detective show. Her dedication to archiving fictional supernatural lore made her internet famous, even if she harbors a secret disdain for the show's star, Devin Ashwood. Never meet your heroes, sometimes they turn out to be the worst. Ever since his show went off the air, Devin and his career have spiraled, but waking up naked in the woods outside his LA home with no memory of the night before is a new low. It must have been a coincidence that the once-in-a-century wolf-blood moon crested last night. The claws, fangs, and howling are a little more difficult to explain away. Desperate for answers, Devin finds Alex, the closest thing to an expert that exists. If only he could convince her to stop hating his guts long enough to help. Once he makes her an offer she can't refuse, these reluctant allies lower their guards, trying to wrangle his inner beast. Unfortunately, getting up close and personal quickly comes back to bite them. This sounds hilarious. As someone who, in their younger days, consumed a lot of fan fiction, and as someone who was a fan of this supernatural romance, like, I used to read a lot of paranormal romances. Most of them had like vampires in it, but I also read some with like werewolves. I read some with like dragon shifters and shit like that. I read a lot of that stuff, and I was a big fan of a supernatural detective show. It only lasted one season. I'm still a little butthurt about the fact that like they canceled it only after one season. It was called Moonlight, and it wasn't werewolf detective, it was a vampire detective. But yeah, anyway, I thought this sounded pretty hilarious. I'm kind of taking a leap here because, quite honestly, I've gotten so picky about romance novels that they just, I won't say 9 times out of 10, I'll say like 8 times out of 10 they end up disappointing me. But I don't know, the premise of this sounds really promising, and I do love a paranormal romance, and I would love to hop back into the world of just silly, ridiculous, turn your brain off paranormal romances again, and this sounds, yeah, kind of intriguing. So first up on April 15th, we have, I don't know what to call this one exactly, contemporary, I guess? It is Friends of the Museum by Heather McGowan. When Diane Schweib, the director of a major New York museum, is awakened in the early morning by a text message from the museum's lawyer, it is the start of a 24-hour roller coaster ride. Diane has sacrificed many things in her life to help the fading institution stave off irrelevance and financial ruin. In this battle, she is surrounded by her stalwart, enigmatic, tireless personal assistant, Chris, the museum's trusty head of security, Shay, and its general counsel, Henry, a man whose ability to weasel his way out of a jam is matched only by his capacity to avoid learning anything from the experience. Already, you've got me. Orbiting Diane is a motley assortment of museum employees, each in the precipice of a collapse, or among them a line cook staring down a huge opportunity he's not sure he wants, a costume curator stuck in an inescapable rut, and the ambivalent curator of the museum's film program, whose first day on the job might very well be his last. On this day, at the museum's annual gala, every plate that Diane has kept spinning will fall, and by daybreak someone will be dead. It says it is wise, surprising, and darkly funny as a kaleidoscope tragic comedy that surges along to the unstoppable tick of the clock, leaving you on the edge of your seat until the final second. I don't often read books that take place over such a short span of time, so I'm kind of really interested in that, and I love the idea of just this crazy, chaotic, quirky group of people having the weirdest fucking day running a museum. I find museums awesome. I'm a fan. I love going to museums. I drive my husband crazy because I have to read like every placard that is out there and look at like every display, and some interest me more so I linger longer, but I love doing all of that and learning different things and seeing cool things and experiencing stuff. There's like interactive things, and then of course the obligatory visit to the gift shop, because I am, if nothing but a nerd, and also a nerd that needs pretty shiny things about the stuff that I just saw. There's that thing, right, about two dragons inside of you, and one hoards knowledge and the other hoards stuff, and they're competing. Well, I just answered to both of them. Right, that sounds awesome. I don't know what to expect from tragic comedy. I also don't read that many of those, but I'm interested. Continuing on through April on the 22nd, we have another nonfiction book, and it is Medicine River, A Story of Survival and the Legacy of Indian Boarding Schools by Mary Annette Pember. And this says, from the mid-19th century to the late 1930s, tens of thousands of Native children were pulled from their families to attend boarding schools that claimed to help create opportunity for these children to pursue professions outside their communities and otherwise assimilate into American life. In reality, these boarding schools, sponsored by the U.S. government, often run by various religious orders with little to no regulation, were an insidious attempt to destroy tribes, break up families, and stamp out traditions of generations of Native people. Children were beaten for speaking their native languages, forced to complete menial tasks in terrible conditions, and utterly deprived of love and affection. Ojibwa journalist Mary Pember's mother was forced to attend one of these institutions, a seminary in Wisconsin, and the impacts of her experience have cast a pall over Mary's own childhood and her relationship with her mother. Highlighting both her mother's experience and the experiences of countless other students at such schools, their families, and their children, Medicine River paints a stark portrait of communities still reckoning with the legacy of acculturation that has affected generations of Native communities. Through searing interviews and assiduous historical reporting, Pember traces the evolution and continued rebirth of a culture whose country has been seemingly intent upon destroying it. So I know everybody's heard, especially over the past couple of years, once, I know largely, I think it was because there were some graves that were found up in Canada, but a lot of these like religious run boarding schools also kind of were here too, were a major problem. I'd heard a little bit about them just from like the shows that I would watch, but haven't really known a ton about them, other than I give to a lot of different charities and organizations, I never give to religious Indian schools because of this. Even though I don't know anything about how they're run now, it leaves me with a sick feeling in my stomach, so I just don't contribute to that at all. And yeah, I want to learn more about that situation, even though I know this is going to be really, 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 really difficult to read and probably incredibly infuriating. But yeah, I think it's an important read anyway. And then next up on April 25th, finally comes out the fourth Morgan Crow book, Silverborn, by Jessica Townsend. I have been waiting for this book because the date keeps getting pushed back. I am so hyped for this book. This series follows a girl named Morgan Crow who was supposed to be cursed to die on like the night of her, I think it's her 12th or 13th birthday, and it's been a while since I've read the first book, but instead, and everyone is like happy about this because I think that she brings nothing but destruction and misfortune to them, including her own family, but then on the night that she is supposed to be killed, she is instead whisked away by a mysterious magical man to a completely different magical world, and he puts her into mentors her and tries to get her ready to enter this competition, this magic competition, so she can join this magical society. And it's such an interesting world. The previous 3 books have been amazing. I have been waiting so excitedly for book 4. I have been talking up this series to everyone I know personally. I actually managed to get one of my friends to read it, and he loves the series too now, so it's like cool. But yeah, so I'm just really excited about this. I don't want to say much about it because it is the 4th book. The one thing I will say is that we are now going to, apparently in this book, learn some more things about her past and also her mother, who has passed in previous years. So that's really exciting. Then on April 29th we have 2 books. First up is called Ginseng Roots by Craig Thompson, and it looks like maybe different versions of this have been coming out for a little while, but I don't know entirely if this is like the complete set that's coming out now or if it's the final volume. But this is an memoir graphic novel by Craig Thompson, documenting his time from ages 10 to 20. He and his little brother were toiling in Wisconsin farms, feeding and harvesting ginseng. It says the medicinal herb fetched huge profits in China and funded Craig's youthful obsession with comic books. Comics in turn allowing him to escape his rural working class trappings. And this is, yeah, part memoir, part travelogue, and part essay, and completely all comic book. Is a narrative that unearths surprising connections between class divide, agriculture, holistic healing, the 300-year-long trade relationship between China and North America, childhood labor, and the bond between 2 brothers. So that sounded really fascinating. I really want to continue reading graphic novels and adding to like my graphic novel collection because I love them, but it's not something I always automatically go for when I'm at like a bookstore. So yeah, I really want to read more of them, and this sounded really interesting. Also on April 29th, there is The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig, and this looks like this might be possibly like a mystery horror. 5 high school friends are bonded by an oath to protect one another no matter what. Then on a camping trip in the middle of the forest, they find something, a mysterious staircase to nowhere. One friend walks up and never comes back down, then the staircase disappears. 20 years later, the staircase has reappeared. Now the group returns to find the lost boy and what lies beyond the staircase in the woods. I love a story where crazy shit happens and then we flash forward several years. Like, I kind of low-key love that. To find some like closure, resolution, or figure out a mystery. I love that. So yeah, this sounds like part mystery, part horror, and honestly very fascinating. I kind of have gone down a little bit of a rabbit hole, not recently, I think it was like last year, looking into different things about staircases in the woods. I know that like the majority of them, if not all, are easily explained. There used to be some kind of structure in the woods that is crumbled to bits, and the staircase, which were usually made of really durable materials, they're still standing in the woods. So there's explanations to why people will go hiking and find creepy ass staircases in the woods. But it's still really fascinating, even if I do roll my eyes at all the conspiracy theories that I see people have online. It's still creepy to look at. I really like looking at pictures of them. They're honestly very eerie. I don't know how I would feel if I came across one in the woods. I 100% would not walk up it because I'm that much of a superstitious bitch. But they're still really fascinating. So to read like a book about one of those, cool. Then moving into May, on the 6th, we have what looks like to be a mystery novel, I believe. It is called The Missing Half, and it is by Ashley Flowers. Nicole Nick Monroe is in a rut. At 24, she lives alone in a dinky apartment in her hometown of Mishawaka, Indiana. She's just gotten a DWI, and she works the same dead-end job she's been working since high school, a job she only has because her boss is a family friend and feels sorry for her. Everyone has felt sorry for her for the last 7 years, since the day her older sister Casey vanished without a trace. On the night Casey went missing, her car was found over 100 miles from home. The driver's door was open and her purse was untouched in the seat next to it. The only real clue in her disappearance was Jules Connor, another young woman from the same area who disappeared in the same way 2 weeks earlier, but with so little for the police to go on, both their cases eventually went cold. Nick wants nothing more than to move on from her sister's disappearance and the state it's left her in, but one day Jules' sister, Jenna, walks into her life and offers Nick something she hasn't felt in a long time. Hope. What follows is a gripping tale of two sisters who will do anything to find their missing halves, even if that means destroying everything they've ever known. That sounds freaking awesome, and I'm also interested to read something written by Ashley Flowers because she is the host of a podcast called Crime Junkie. It's not one that I've listened to like a ton of, but I have listened to a few of their episodes, and they're usually like very well done. So yeah, I'm interested to see what's up with this mystery novel. And then on May 13th, we have a nonfiction book, and it is Mark Twain by Ron Chernow. Ron Chernow is the guy who wrote the giant Hamilton biography that Lin-Manuel Miranda read and got inspired to write Hamilton. The musical, I have it on my shelves. I started reading it. It's a big boy. It's good. A little dry, but not like dry as some nonfiction like biographies that I've tried to read before. So it's so intimidating because of how chunky it is. It will get read one day. But anyway, that's the guy that wrote this, and now he's written a biography about Mark Twain. Before he was Mark Twain, he was Samuel Langhorne Clemens, born in 1835, the man who would become America's first most influential literary celebrity, spent his childhood dreaming of piloting steamboats in the Mississippi. When the Civil War interrupted his career on the river, the young Twain went west to the Nevada Territory and accepted a job at the local newspaper, writing dispatches that attracted attention for their brashness and humor. It wasn't long before the former steamboat pilot from Missouri was recognized across the country for his literary brilliance, writing under a pen name he would immortalize. So this basically brings like his life to life now. Yeah, it's like basically about his whole life. It draws a lot on Twain's archives, thousands of letters, hundreds of unpublished manuscripts, and it's just really fascinating. I haven't read that many things by Mark Twain. I do have his complete like short stories on my shelves that I haven't dove into yet, but I would like to know about him because he seems like a very interesting person and character overall. And then on May 20th, there is, I don't know, what would you call this? A romance novel, I guess, is what this really is. It is called Time After Time, and this is by Mickey Daughtry. 19-year-old Libby has always been inexplicably drawn to the old Victorian house on Mulberry Lane. So much so when she sees a for sale sign go up in the front yard, she uses all the money her grandmother left her to pay for college to buy the house instead. Girl, I feel you. Determined to fix it up for herself, even though she knows her parents will be furious. Soon after moving in, she discovers a journal written by a young woman, Elizabeth Post, who lived in the house nearly a century earlier. It doesn't take long for the journal to reveal that Elizabeth was madly in love with her personal maid, Patricia. a love that was forbidden and dangerous, especially at that time. Enter Tish, a brash, broke fellow college student who passes by the house one day and is mysteriously compelled to knock on the door. Soon Libby offers Tish a room in exchange for her help to fixing up the old house, and the two young women quickly find themselves falling for each other. But as Elizabeth's journal entries delve deeper into her secret love affair with Patricia, uncanny similarities between that young couple and Libby and Tish are revealed, and it becomes clear this may not be their first time in this house or in this love. Is this their chance to get it right? I love a dual timeline thing. I love a little bit of time wibbly wobbly timey wimey, and this sounds so stinking cute. I'm really hoping that it's not like heartbreaking at the end, because it sounds so cute. So yeah, I really want to read that. And then let's see, continuing on through May, I think there's like one more in May. Yes. Okay, it's a book that comes out on May 27th, and this sounds like a contemporary or literary fiction. And this is the Martha's Vineyard Beach and Book Club, and it is by Martha Hall Kelly. 2024, Mari lands on the storied shores of Martha's Vineyard, fresh off the heels of her mother's funeral, with plans to meet the famous painter Elizabeth Devereux. She is there to paint, but few understand why the notoriously reclusive Miss Devereux would agree to take Mary on. It soon becomes clear her teacher brought Mary there, for she holds the key to Mari's past. Among this magical island, sandy beaches, and the shimmering ocean, the history of her family and the fateful connection to this place becomes clear. Switching back to 1942, dual timelines. 1942, the Smith sisters, still reeling from the explosion of war and their brother's enlistment, are left to care for their family's Martha's Vineyard property alone. Briar, their rambunctious younger of the two, begins to suspect a German U-boat lurks on the horizon, spying on a neighboring army base. Ginny, the eldest, dreams of being a writer in New York and falls headlong into a passionate romance with a British Navy officer. When they start up a book club that pores over armed service editions, what begins as an attempt to bolster the war effort by getting books into the hands of soldiers becomes a powerful means of connection for the women who have been left behind to fend for themselves. But when a German soldier washes ashore, one who claims to have knowledge of their brother's whereabouts, paranoia seeps in. Who can they trust, and who among them is telling the truth? So this sounds super cool. Fun fact you might not know, I worked for a short time on Martha's Vineyard. Not like living there, I worked on the ferry, but I would frequently be over there to work at like the travel counters, and I love the island. It's beautiful. It's so cute. There's so much good food. The people there are just lovely. So yeah, I don't get a chance to read that many books about Martha's Vineyard, so this sounded really appealing. And then we get into June. So the first one is on June 10th, and it is called Bury Our Bones in Midnight Soil, and it is by V. Schwab. This sounds like another, like, I don't know, fantasy, horror. I'm not really sure what to expect from this, but the book description is very brief. It says Santo Domingo de la Calzada, 1532. London, 1837. Boston, 2019. Three young women, their bodies planted in the same soil, their stories tangling like roots. One grows high, and one grows deep, and one grows wild, and all of them grow teeth. I have no idea what any of that means. I don't even know what soil means. One is in Santo Domingo, one's in London, and one's in Boston. What? But again, multiple timelines. And she herself says, after Addie, so Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, I swear I never put so much of my actual self into a book, and then I went and did this, she said. So I don't know what to expect from this. I'm excited about it because I do really enjoy her writing, but I'm also like nervous about it because I didn't really like Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So I don't know, but I am 100%, I do really love her writing. So I don't know. I'm really hopeful about this one. And also very much intrigued because there's not that much of a description. What the hell is that description supposed to mean? Are they literally growing teeth? Are they like monsters? Or is it just they're gonna fight back against whatever going on at the time? I don't know. I'm interested. Way to go, V. Schwab. You get me fucking intrigued. Then on... Let me see, is there anything else in June? Yes. On June 24th, there is another non-fiction book. And this one is called Super Visible, The Story of the Women of Marvel, and this is by Margaret Stoll. It says, this is inspired by the hit podcast The Women of Marvel. I have not listened to that podcast, I didn't know it existed. It's an eye-opening and engaging book celebrating the women who have helped make Marvel one of the most successful comics and entertainment companies in the world. These authors want to make the historically invisible work of women visible, and with unprecedented access to Marvel creators, writers, actors, and more, Margaret Stoll and Judith Stevens set out to tell the story of the women of the House of Ideas from 1939 through today, along the way to find the meaning of their own Marvel stories. Packed with biographies, illustrations of creators, graphical reprints, and excerpts of historic Marvel comics, exclusive interviews from award-winning actors including Brie Larson, Scarlett Johansson, Ming-Na Wen, Elizabeth Olsen, Evangeline Lilly, Zoe Saldana, and Elizabeth Henstridge. And continuing on, yeah, it sounds very interesting. And I didn't really realize that there was a lot of women involved in the Marvel making anyway, because, you know, most of the time it's the guys that are talked up a lot in theirs. I mean, I should have figured that there were women probably working behind the scenes at Marvel, but I didn't, you know, it's not something you really think about that much. So I thought that sounded really cool. Let's see, and then I think we get into July, right? Yes. Next up, coming out on July 8th, we have, I think this is another graphic novel. This one is a horror graphic novel. Ooh, it looks like it's, I didn't realize it was book one. This looks like this is book one. Ooh, that's exciting. This is a YA graphic novel by Victoria Setyan and Savannah Ganachow. It is a modern spin on the classic horror novel Dracula. There's no one in town stranger than Mina Murray. I love Mina. I love stuff with Mina Murray in it. An aspiring photographer, Mina has a reputation for hanging around creepy locations in her hometown of New Whippy. Graveyards, crypts, and funeral homes, no place is too weird for her to sneak into, but when a boat named the Demeter crashes on a nearby shore, Mina's explorations uncover a whole new level of feral dogs, large boxes of dirt, and most notably, the body of a ship's captain completely drained of blood. Shocked by the grisly scene, Mina sets out to unearth the truth behind what's happened on the ship, but the deeper she digs, the stranger things get around town. The head editor of her high school's newspaper goes missing. Her best friend falls ill, plagued by nightmares of a massive, terrifying creature, and the handsome new transfer student, Raph, seems to have everyone under his thrall, including Mina's crush, John. It's clear that something ominous is going on, but will Mina be able to figure out who or what is the cause, or is New Whippy doomed to become the hunting ground for this evil forever? Yes. A new take on Dracula and is a graphic novel. Sign me up, obviously. And then, let's see, also in July 29th, we have another mystery novel, and this is actually also YA. It is called Very Dangerous Things, and it is by Lauren Muniz. Everyone in town knows about the game. For decades, J. Everett High has staged an annual murder mystery to put its criminology students to the test. High school has criminology students? What? This year, crime junkie Dulce Castillo is dead set on winning. When the game kicks off, the student playing the victim, Xavier Torres, is found poisoned in the school's greenhouse, except his death is not pretend, it's murder. When the authorities open an investigation, all the evidence points to Sierra Fox, Xavier's ex-girlfriend and Dulce's ex-best friend. Claiming innocence and desperate to clear her name, she begs Dulce to look into past their bad blood and find the culprit. So, yeah, there's just a game of cat and mouse. I kind of love that. That sounds awesome. And a murder mystery game that's real. That's a trope I really like, to be honest. Let's see. Do we have anything in August? We do not. Then to finish off basically the things that are coming out that I'm super excited about, we have on September 24th, Wrath of the Triple Goddess by Rick Riordan. This is yet another one. This is number 2 of the Senior Year Chronicles, I think is what they're being called, or is a continuation of the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series. It is yet another one. I'm saying this with excitement because, and I still haven't read, like, The Chalice of the Gods that came out last year. I haven't read it yet, or this year, or yeah, I still haven't read that, but I'm still excited because it's another Percy book. So yeah, I can't talk about that because I am avoiding actually looking at it because I haven't read the last one, and I don't want any spoilers, but yeah, it's a new Percy book, guys, so that's exciting. So yeah, that is everything that I am wicked excited about coming out in 2025. This is basically kicking off my usual end of the year, beginning of the year series of videos. I just decided to do this anticipated reads one sooner rather than later. You also will have my recent Christmas haul for this week. I think for right now I'm gonna be trying to do like 2 a week, but this is not sustainable for longer than a month or so, so we'll be going back to the usual video a week. It's just there's a lot of stuff that I want to get out at you guys starting off this year. So yeah, those are the ones you'll see this week, and then I should next week have my usual end of year stats video and everything, and then you can hear about my best and worst reads of the year as per usual. We might do another plans for 2025, I don't know. I'm trying to be kinder to myself this year and go in with not so many plans, so we'll see. Anyway, let me know if you guys are also excited about any of these anticipated reads. Let me know if there's any that you're like wicked excited about or you think I should know about. Please let me know down below. And yeah, I thank you for watching. Thank you for always watching. If you're new here and would like to subscribe, please consider doing so, and I will see you guys in the next video.